What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So the most exciting part of this upcoming Prague Pro, that is of course Keone Pearson and his men's open bodybuilding debut. As we already saw, Martin wasn't able to beat Samson at his most vulnerable, and that was at the Olympia this year. So with Samson trying to come in bigger, rounder, fuller, it's pretty much understandable that Samson will beat Martin again. But there is a huge anticipation around Keone Pearson. The reason is that we weren't able to see the best of Keone at this past Olympia, and he's probably gonna show up with a different look for this upcoming Prague Pro in just a few days time now. So here we have a warning shot from Keone, and this one is from today. No, he isn't trying to be 218 pounds on the stage. That will totally go against him. He will probably go back to what has always worked for him, to his roots, and he is probably gonna weigh a bit less than what he weighed at the Olympia this year. That 2024 hard and dry look that made him so invincible 1 year back, and Keone with his crazy X-frame and V-taper, that is gonna be so dangerous that the weight difference on the stage, that simply won't matter. Now, it is a long shot, but can you imagine Keone actually winning this upcoming Prague Pro? I have got to say that won't be a good look for either Samson or Martin. But that will definitely open up the door for Keone Pearson to make that switch to open bodybuilding permanently, because him beating all these guys or giving them both a serious run for their money, that simply means that he's already worthy of placing top 4 in the world, even among the big boys. The big question is, whom among these probable top 3 here, Samson, Keone and Martin, have the most at stake here? So that person is 100% our 2024 Olympia champion Samson, because he has to win this show at all cost, and that too very comprehensively, so that he can end this long prep at a high note and get some of his hype back for next year, whether it be for the Arnold or for the Olympia. So winning the Olympia, that literally changes everything for any athlete. So if Samson would have successfully defended his Olympia title 2 weeks back, he probably would have focused on just doing the Olympia next year, because this man has been competing non-stop since he came onto the scene, and that was back in 2021. But that being said, Keone Pearson sticking to his strengths, that is a great game plan for his open debut. Before you scroll or blink too hard, have you subscribed yet? Please don't make me bring out the emotional blackmail. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon. It's free, it's painless, and that makes me look way cooler than I actually am. So here we have a picture of 2 times former Olympia champion Big Ramy, and this one is taken from today. So it has been 3 years since Big Ramy stepped foot on the Olympia stage, and that is just so much time away from the stage, which makes this comeback almost impossible. So Big Ramy right now is 41, which makes him younger than both William Bonac and Brendan Carey. And those guys are still competing and placing top 10 in the world. But the fact is they never stopped. So the last show that Big Ramy did, that was Arnold, Ohio back in 2023. And this upcoming Arnold next year, that is probably the last hope if Big Ramy is to make a comeback and do one last show. As the last post that Big Ramy made regarding his comeback, that was a picture of him posing on the Arnold, Ohio stage, not the Olympia. So Big Ramy's last Olympia appearance back in 2022, that just changed everything in terms of the added benefit any reigning Olympia enjoyed. Prior to that, all the defending champions, the worst they did in terms of their title defense, that was placing second. But they gave Big Ramy 5th in 2022, which is the worst any Olympia has ever placed, defending their title. So we saw something very similar a couple of weeks back when Samson was given 4th in his first ever title defense. Now I know the bodybuilding fans, they are very selfish, and they would 100% wanna see Big Ramy back on the stage one more time. But it will probably be a better idea if Big Ramy just retires. Because if we cannot expect a guy like Brendan Carey to place top 3 at the Arnold. How can anyone expect Big Ramy, after a 3 years gap, that he can come in and win the Arnold? Now, he's one of the most loved bodybuilder of all time, one of the most lovable person in the Middle East, and his legacy has already been cemented as one of the greatest bodybuilder of the past decade or so. So it's a better idea if he just hangs up the posing trunks and keeps his legacy intact. So this has to be one of the best pre-Olympia check-ins from the former 2 times Classic Physique Olympia champion, Breon. So he will be turning 46 this year in a month or so. But still the man has no loose skin, no signs of aging, and once again he's determined to make a solid impact into a new chapter of his life, which is gonna be the 212. Now only time will tell how bigger he can get, and even more important than that, how big his quads can get as he moves into a bigger division, because in most cases, especially at the tail end of any pro career, the waistline that starts to get wider and the quad sweep that starts melting. Luckily for Breon, neither of these things have happened so far. Even at this past Mr. Olympia, they were not seen. But the judges also gave him a very clear message that they do not want him in Classic, and he doesn't belong in Classic Physique division anymore because he placed 14th. So the experts have been saying this for quite some time, that Breon should have made the switch to 212 at least 2 or 3 years back. And in my opinion, he should have made that switch 5 years ago. He literally went through most part of his career just restricting his body from getting bigger, from growing, from putting on any more muscle. So hopefully Breon will have a full-blown off-season, give 212 a try for next year and see how that goes for him. So I wonder why Mike Sommerfeld, he did not choose to compete at a show like Prague Pro. So he did the guest posing, and the man looked to be very much on the money, ready to step on the stage anytime. So he came in dry and ripped, and his hamstrings and glutes, they were 100% in. I'm gonna say they probably look better than what many guys actually have on the day of the show. Now Mike did beat Terence Ruffin quite comprehensively at the Olympia this year on the scorecards. And honestly, if they would have given Mike the Classic Physique Olympia title, nobody would have complained. That is how close it was between him and Ramon. So Mike just endured way too much stress and social media backlash in those last 10 days or so, leading into the Olympia this year. And that was because of his height and his weight. Now that stress is probably the only reason why we aren't gonna see Mike competing in any of these post-Olympia shows. So he's a very professional man in a sense that he stays super lean throughout the year and very regimented. So it will be very interesting to see whether Mike returns to the upcoming Arnold, Ohio next year as the defending champion, as there is now $100,000 on the line in Classic for the Arnold, Ohio too, and Mike can be the favorite to win that thing. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.